To Get a Grip with Coach Elex. I am your host, Coach Elex, and with me is
Stephen the medium.
my better half. Hello, Sin. How are you?
I am good. I hope everybody can hear me. I don't know why it sounds like I only have one. So like this week, lopsided. I feel like one headphone, one ear is I can hear, and the other I can't. So I hope I didn't mess anything up. But you can hear me, so I think everyone can hear me. So, but I'm good other than that.
I can hear you. And hello, Mr. Jim. We have GM producing the show today. Hello, sir.
Hey,
I don't know
Coach.
that we can. Hey, we can hear you. Excellent. Mark, who normally produces the show, he's out sick. He's on the weather. So, Mark, if you're sitting better, I hope you feel better soon. And we are live from Cape Cod. And honestly, I'm looking out the door, and it looks fabulous. What a gorgeous, gorgeous day. Sunny. It's beautiful. It's like spring is in the air. So, Mr. Stephen the Medium, how are you? How
I am
goes?
You're starting off. May laugh. It's well. And administratively, did you put the feed up for your?
So I hope
Okay.
so.
I just want to
don't
make sure.
know. You know, do it for me. So if I did, I did. If I didn't, I didn't. And whomever's listening, they know they can go. Well, they're listening. So I think I did. So
Okay. I'm just
anyway,
making sure.
So let's get it over with. Let's talk about our Fat Fist video today. We did well, and I thought it was awesome.
It was amazing.
Yep. So Steven decided you were the one who decided, we gotta do something different. So we decided, let's do a cooking show. Not that, I'm not a professional chef, and Steven certainly not a chef either. But let's have fun. And Steven was like my assistant, and we did a recipe from Puerto Rico for sweetbread. And honestly, I managed it. So we did the whole thing live. We were able to show the end product, beautiful loaf bread right out of the oven, and we actually tasted it together. And I thought that was awesome.
Yeah, but you're missing a piece.
What?
It wasn't just about, even though it was hilarious and it was a lot of fun to do. I have been saying you needed to do something like this with cooking because of the fantastic chef you are. So that's the reason why I wanted you to do this, because I know people asked for the recipe, which we posted or they posted, and what you give. When after 28 years, people come to the house when you cook, and people's reaction being always the same, that this is like a 5-star restaurant and better than that. So I knew you also would be able to bring to the table something really good, but something that was doable for people that may not bake a lot or cook a lot. So, but I hope that we get to do more, because I know this sweetbread recipe you did went over so well.
And if you watched us, I hope you are trying. If you haven't tried the recipe, I hope you try it. And if you let us know how it came out, I'm positive that if you follow the steps I gave you, you're gonna end up with a beautiful loaf of bread, sweet bread, which is delicious. And if you haven't watched us, what's wrong with you people? You need to go and find us and watch the video, because it will make you laugh. That's the other thing. Steven has shows, through the Static on Wednesdays at 5. I have my show, Get a Grip with Coach Elex, on Friday at 1. So there's Steven the Medium, there's Coach Elex, but we also, a lot of people get to see the two of us, just Elex and Steven. And people are fascinated by what our life behind the scenes looks like. And that really gives you an inside view as to what our life looks like. Because I'm telling you right now, that's exactly what we do when we're not with you guys. We are laughing together. He's either making fun of me, I'm making fun of him. We're helping each other, we're supporting each other, we're being for each other, and we're having a lot of fun in the process. Would you say that?
Well, I'm in terms of what you did on the video, all I'm doing is eating.
Well, no, you were pretty funny. You.
Well, no, I know that. I'm just talking about cooking. Because I don't cook, even though I did bake a cake this week.
Oh, you did. And actually, it's funny because you posted that picture and people actually doubted. People actually thought that I baked a cake and Steven took the picture. So they were doubtful. And I was like, no. He baked the cake. I wasn't even home. And I came home, Steven surprised me with a beautiful, beautiful cake. So I thought that, that's impressive. Of course, for those of you who haven't heard the Chinese takeout story, there's that,
Let's skip that.
Yeah, well, he heated Chinese in styrofoam in the oven. So it wasn't a good ending. So there's that. But he did bake a good cake, and there was no fire. There was nothing really, terrible happening. But the cake was actually delicious.
Well, it is delicious. Well, even, I did taste salt crystals.
Oh my God! Thank God.
Thinking maybe Elix bought. I've never seen this. Elix bought this I don't know, container of. It says salt crystals, and it's for cooking. And so I thought, well, they're really cute little white things, and I'm thinking, well, I'll put it on. I want to decorate the cake after the frosting. Let me maybe put that on there. And thank God I put a little piece in my mouth first and spit it out very quickly, because it was like I was tasting, the salt you put down for the ice outside. It wasn't
Honestly,
good.
and again, typical Steven. He sees something in the kitchen, and I actually bought salt because I'm making a recipe. It's a dark chocolate tart with salted caramel on top. So it calls for some salt crystals to be put on top. So he sees it. He doesn't ask me, and here he is trying to figure out if this would go well with that chocolate cake. And of course it wouldn't go well with a freaking chocolate cake. So I'm actually glad that you tasted it and that you stopped yourself, because that would have been a disaster.
See, well, I've learned. See?
But again, tune in. Make sure you follow us. Listen, if you follow Steven, find me at Coach Elex. If you follow me, you got to find Steven at Steven the Medium, because again, we either him or I, or both of us, we're going to make you laugh. And, we're going to take you into a journey into our lives. But listen, Steven, what's going on with you? Is there anything, any announcements, anything from a business perspective, anything new that you want everyone to know?
Well, besides the usual being extremely busy, my month of March is completely booked. It's full for readings, which is wonderful. And yeah, there's definitely a lot of irons in the fire. So there is. I can't really speak too many details, but I have been asked to do or be part of a documentary, which will be filming sometime next month. So I'm really, really excited about that and where this documentary goes. And there's some other things that are, the things that are going to happen, but you just don't have the final. It's almost like you know you're going to get a job, but you don't have the offer in writing, so you just hold off on telling people. So there's other things that are in the works that I'm just waiting for, but it's good. It's really good.
And so, it's really, I cannot wait for this documentary to happen, because it's going to be super interesting. So stay tuned, people. And for me, one of the things I'm really excited, I've told people I'm working on my book, and I'm really excited to really share my story publicly. But part of that is, rebranding myself, and I'm working with, a new company that I was going to say mine, but I better say our branding and marketing manager, Lindsay. It's really managing for us. But that means that my website is going to be brand new, and it's really about reaching out, really connecting with people who find themselves in, who connect with my story, and they can see themselves. Not that the story may be the same, because certainly it's not going to be the same, but they can relate to that story. And talking about that, that's actually exactly what today is going to look like, because, my guest today wants you to know what it means to live a powerful, healthy life. And he is a friend of mine, somebody who I respect highly, and he was a client for many, many years. He's still, he calls me coach all the time. And I have a great deal of respect for Mark Worcester, also known as Nurse Mark. And, for those of you, I hope you tune in, because talk about, transforming your story, right? Going from, trauma, breakdown, to creating the life that you want, to experiencing triumph in every single part of your life, and to purposely learn how to live a powerful, healthy life. And that's what Mark is going to bring to the table today. And I'm just really, really excited about that. And you know Mark, right?
I
You
do.
did
I
you meet
do.
Mark?
Yes.
I think you did. Yeah, because Mark also was a workout buddy for me for many years. So Mark is an entrepreneur. He's a speaker. He's an author. He actually has a voice talent. He's a coach. He's a singer. He's a fitness guru. He's everything. He's all that and a bag of chips. Well, that was actually pretty good. So he's also a registered cannabis nurse. He founded Nurse Mark, and he's the co-founder of the Green Nurse. So we are about to take a break, and when we come back, we are going to get Mark, and we're going to have a conversation with Mark. So it's going to be an amazing conversation. You want to tune in and listen. If you want to talk to Mark, if you have questions for me, if you want to join in the conversation, you can always call 508-222-1320. And we're going to take a break, and we will be right back. And hello and welcome back to Get a Grip with Coach Helix. I am your host, Coach Elix, and with me is my co-host,
Stephen the Medium.
Stephen the Medium's in the house. And today our show is about living a life that you love. And I have an amazing guest. He's a registered cannabis nurse. He's the founder of Nurse Mark. He's the co-founder of The Green Nurse. He's an entrepreneur. He's a speaker. He's an author. He's a voice talent, a coach, a singer. Oh my God, I go on and on and on. A fitness guru, a great friend, an incredible businessman, Mr. Mark Worcester.
Hey, hey, hey.
How are you, Mark?
Oh, my gosh. You know, I could listen to that intro over and over and over again. Elix, thank you so much for such a glittering review. I'm doing great. How are you today?
I am doing excellent, and I'm doing better now that I have you here. Mark and I, by the way, for those of you listening, Mark, how long have we known each other?
Oh, my gosh. Going back to 2012.
2012. So,
yes.
my goodness.
It was the first CrossFit box that I joined in the Boston area, and lo and behold, you were there, my friend.
And Mark and I we connected. We became very good friends. And at the time, Mark, you were a very successful business person.
Yeah,
and,
great success.
And that was, that was a business that you built. It was a family business. Tell me a little bit about that.
So I founded, it was a tech consulting company, and I founded it in 1987. And a year later, I brought my brother into the business, my youngest brother. And, we built that business from scratch. And, 30 plus years later, it's still operating. I sold my shares to my brother in 2017, and he continues to run it. So, for 30 plus years, we provided people with jobs and had a great lifestyle. It was great. It was a wonderful experience.
And Mark, when people listen to that, right, that in and of itself, that's a successful story right there.
It is, yeah.
You build a business from the ground up. 30 years later, it's a still successful business.
Absolutely.
But what happened? What made you decide, you know what, this is a successful business. I am doing well, but
right.
This is not my calling. What happened?
I got to tell you, for a long time, I had the feeling that I just wanted to do something that was more meaningful for me. And, honestly, Elix, I did the Landmark program in 2010. So Landmark is a personal development company, and they're about transforming your life and really identifying what is the most important thing to you, and then, getting you unstuck. I mean, it's what you do, right? You help people to really live their dream. And so similarly, I went through that programming, and I realized that I wanted to do something in healthcare. And so that was in 2010. Now, it still took me until 2017 to make that a reality, right? So for 7 years, I really had to work at trying to get past the stories of, I have this successful business. I don't really have to work that hard because I've done it for so long. It's like second nature, and I make great money. And if you look from the outside, I had friends that said, you're absolutely crazy. Why are you giving this up? And it's because I knew to do something different.
Yeah. And you trusted yourself. It wasn't, I'm sure that wasn't an easy decision. It was very risky for you, but it was like you were called to it no matter what. Called to it.
And what's unfolded since that time, Elix, is just really indescribable. So many amazing opportunities have opened up because I stepped into this new life that, it really was the unknown.
Yeah. And by the way, Mark talks about, doing the Landmark Forum. I led for Landmark Education. I like the Introduction Leaders Program. I'm very open about that. But just, just make sure we didn't know during that time. So that just happens to be a coincidence that you did the Landmark Forum, because at the time I was leading the Introduction Leaders Program, I never met you during the Landmark program at all.
No.
So Mark, here, on my show, I often talk about the idea of going from trauma to triumph. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I'm so moved by people's ability to overcome and turn negative experiences into a springboard for intense personal growth and opportunity. And trauma to triumph is a huge part of my story. It describes my journey as well. Can you share with our listeners, how has your life been guided by some of the experiences that you've had? Let me actually, I want you to answer the question, but I'm also, there's something in the book. This is a quote directly from your book. Mm-hmm. It's about, and so I'm taking it from the book. It just really highlights a lot about who you are. You say, my ex-wife had moved my only son out of state. My fiancé had just told me she had found someone new. My business of 25 years was seemingly on the rocks. And worst of all, my nephew, the son of my youngest brother and business partner, a boy that I loved, had shot and killed his mom and buried her in the backyard of the family home. That's pretty traumatic.
That was traumatic, yes.
And then you say, and add to that a bit of alcohol, and the stage was set. Tell us a little bit about that, Mark.
So that was in 2011, Felix, and it was a real low point. Now, you have to understand the backstory that I have had lifelong depression, recurring depression. It's not treated by medication, and so I had great success, but it wasn't without a real effort on trying to figure out how to manage this recurring depression. So at that point, it was as low as get, and I found myself one evening in May standing in front of the mirror in my bedroom at my home with a gun to my head, and I had to make a decision. I mean, it was just, the pain was unbearable, and it was a decision that everybody would be better off if I just was not in the picture. And it's an indescribable place to be. And so I decided at that moment that I did not want my children to find me that way, and they would have been the ones that would have come looking for me, and they would have found me, and I just could not do that to them. So I checked myself in for a weekend stay at a wonderful facility where they take your shoelaces and your belt and tell you everything's going to be okay. And when I was in that place, Felix, I heard a voice that said, "We're not done yet. We have so much more to do, and just get ready." And from that moment on, it moved into, 2012. I met you. I started nursing school right away in 2012. I had no healthcare experience at all. I went to nursing school nights and weekends while I ran that last business, and graduated in 2014 with an associate's, and then, worked for a bit and put it on a back burner to get my business to a point to where I could sell it to my brother. And I completed my bachelor's in 2018, and it's been this amazing journey since then, and it's just incredible. And we'll talk about what's going on now at some point.
Yeah. And it's interesting because Stephen is my co-host. You've met Stephen the Medium, and
Stephen.
Hey, Mark, how are you?
Oh, I'm so good. It's so good to hear your voice.
Same here.
But Stephen, I don't know if you caught the part when Mark says, I heard that voice that said you're not done.
Of course.
And I often hear you, that's what you speak to the clients that come see you.
Yeah, but I will tell you something. Only the minority of people in this world, like Mark, will hear that. So kudos to you, Mark.
Yeah, listen, it was as clear as we're speaking right now.
Yeah, not
But but
Yeah,
surprising.
but but I also think that it's not it's incredible that you heard it, but it's even more incredible that you trusted the voice, because some people
absolutely.
may hear it and they may dismiss it, or they may
Hmm.
ignore the voice, but you trusted that voice. Now, Mark, I one of the things that I talk often, with my clients in my radio show is that in order, being clear about one's vision, one's legacy, one's, what inspires us is really critical. So, I'm curious for you, and we need to take a break soon, so we'll take a break and we'll
Yep.
come back. But I want you to talk about, in that point where you just hit rock bottom, right? And then you heard
Hmm.
that little voice. What what was that source that gave you that clarity around, no, I this is my purpose, this is my legacy, this is what I'm gonna aspire no matter what? Because I would imagine that was that stepping stone that led you to now to get into action and do all the things that you've done since then. So we're gonna take a
Absolutely.
break, and when we'll be right back, Mark, I'm gonna give you the floor so you can answer that question, okay?
Okay, sounds good.
And we'll be right back.
Uh,
And hello and welcome back to Get a Grip with Coach Elex. I am your host, Coach Elex. With me is Stephen the Medium
Hello.
and my guest, Mark Worcester, also known as Nurse Mark. And Mark, when before the break, I asked you, you talked about, hitting that rock bottom and hearing that voice that told you you're not done. And my question to you is, what what was that source that led you to discover what what is your vision, what's your purpose, what's that legacy, and how did that guide you to be where you are today?
Alex, I really think that it is a function of being at that lowest point. Like it was as low as you could go. And, couple that with this knowledge that I had gained at Landmark that I really wanted to do something different. It's so hard to step out of doing what you're currently doing, as we know, right? And life was good. Why would I want it to change? So it was a real tough thing to get to that point. But being at that lowest point, it really was an opportunity to just say, okay, nothing else matters. You are at the lowest point. You can only go up from here. What is up going to look like?
And how did that inform? Okay, so what is up going to look like, and here's what I'm committed to. What did that look like for you?
Well, I knew that I wanted to do something in healthcare, and I thought that nursing would be it. And so, it was a catalyst that when immediately, I mean, this was May in 2011, I immediately enrolled in nursing school. And you know what? I never went to college. Or I should say I took some college classes over the years, but, I built a business, so I had a good life. I didn't necessarily need to, right? So I it was a new thing for me, so I had to navigate that, and I immediately got into action as soon as I left that facility, and it was a catalyst, and I started on the path.
And one of those, part of that path is it led you to write your own book. Tell us about that.
Oh, that I wrote the book, and it was published last year, and Amazon #1 bestseller on the first day. It was really a result of a recognition that the story needed to be told, because there are a lot of people out there who suffer from mental illness who are sitting there saying, I can't do what I want to do because I'm flawed. And you know what? That is just a story. It's not the truth. The reality is you can do anything that you want to do. You just need to step into it. And so that I really wrote the book so that people could understand, coming from that place of trauma, like you mentioned, you can open up into a life that you could never have imagined. Where I'm sitting now, Elix, I never, ever could have imagined being here. It wasn't a linear plan. You know what I mean?
One of the things I appreciate about your book, in your book, you say, let me actually, you explore how to fundamentally change the way we think, right?
Yes.
And you say, what is your 60-second answer to how do we go from shit happens to shit happens, and I'm absolutely okay with that?
Yeah. Listen, life happens. You're presented with things that just occur that are outside of your control, and you and I both know, which is, we work together a lot. We've been friends for a long time. Like, we both have been through the similar Landmark training. Like, we know that there are things outside of you that just happen, and then you need to decide what the meaning of that is. So really, that fundamental capacity to change the story that you create is what creates your life. And man, oh man, I have a life. And you can too.
Yeah, well, that's really, that's what we're here to do, right? That's the point of, that's our purpose, our vision. What would you tell someone who says, well, but you're different, but have you heard that? Yeah, but what would you tell somebody?
But oh my God, Elix, I operated with but. That was my life. Oh, look at that person who's successful over there. I could probably be successful like that, but, I have depression, and they don't have depression. It's all just a created story. None of it is real. So once I was absolutely solid on the fact that it was just all generated inside of my head, when I could accept that, that's when everything opened up, because then it becomes the opportunity for me to create whatever story I want. There isn't anything that I can't do. I'm going to be 59 in April, Felix. I'm graduating with my master's in medical cannabis science and therapeutics from the University of Maryland School of Pharmacy, which is the fourth oldest college of pharmacy. Do you know that I'm one of 150 people in the world that'll have that degree in May?
Mm.
And if that isn't an amazing thing, it wasn't a plan that I had. I was just in a particular, I was moving in a particular direction in the cannabis space, and I was just open to whatever presented itself, and I just get in action. So, again, not anything I ever would have conceived of 5 years ago, 10 years ago.
Yeah, and when you say that, the next thing I hear is how often people say, I've heard this before, by the way, and listeners, I want you to really ask yourself if this is you, how often people say, yeah, but I'm too old to go to school. I'm too old to now, begin a new career. I'm too old.
I know.
And what you're saying is you didn't allow that story to get in the way.
No.
You stepped
now
into
listen,
it.
it's not as if I don't have moments where that occurs.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, I have moments where that occurs where I say, oh, damn, are you going to be 60 next year? You should have been in a much different place than where you are now. Where I am right now is so freaking amazing. Oh, my gosh. But, yeah, so, we have these things that pop up. The difference is I don't let it sit as reality. I immediately say, oh, please, come on. I graduated with my first degree when I was 55, so 56. Listen, you can do it at any time. I'm not done yet. This is just the end of this particular coursework. I'm going to do something else. Absolutely.
Yeah, and Mark, you talk about being a cannabis nurse. What led you to the Green Nurse, being a co-founder of the Green Nurse? Why don't you share with us a little bit about that?
Listen, it's being open to what's presented, or being aware and open to what's presented. So I met my current partner at a conference December 2019, and we didn't discuss anything about business. We were just at the conference together, and we said hello, and that was it. And then being active in this cannabis space in the medical community, we just started to bump into each other a little more often. And then I had her on my podcast, and then I was a guest on her podcast. And then, she had a partnership that didn't work out, and we were in a particular place, and we met, and we said, well, let's try it. And I'll tell you, there isn't a better partner for me at this moment in time. She is absolutely an amazing human being and a perfect complement to me. We're all over social media. We have a lot of different shows that we do, but she's the perfect complement for me. And it was just being open and aware to what possibilities may present.
Now in your blog, you talk about, how your mom passed away from pancreatic cancer only after 6 months, right after the diagnosis.
Yeah.
And you talk about your powerful realization that those cancer cells were most likely there forming inside of her for almost 18 years. And,
right.
In the blog you write, and my point is, mom never knew what hit her. It's another example of how things happen within us without any external awareness. How does that experience, Mark, and realization has fueled your purpose?
It lends a sense of urgency. It lends a sense of start now. In his seminal book, Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill states it. There's no better time than now. And so, I became really present to the fact that we're not going to be here forever. You live day to day and you have your family around you, and they become obvious. You just take them for granted that they're always going to be there. And then, my mom went from, I said goodbye to her on a Saturday morning, and I was living in New York City at the time. I drove to New York City. Next morning I get up, I have 70 calls and text messages that my mom has had a massive stroke and is in intensive care. So in one 24-hour period, my mom, who was my greatest supporter, went from being mom to being somebody who's gravely ill because the stroke was a result of her pancreatic cancer progression. So that's the message. We don't know what's going to happen moment to moment. So today is the perfect day to start whatever it is that you want to do, what you want to do in your life.
And you know what, Mark? I have one tattoo, and that's exactly what it says. There's only today. And that's a conversation I have with client after client after client. I hear all
Mm-hmm.
the time, I'll do that tomorrow. I'll do that when. I'll do that when I get married. I'll do that when I have kids. I'll do that when I graduate. I'll do that. And it's always never, the time is somewhere, it's always somewhere, somehow, but not now. And I always say the person of power doesn't wait for the decisive moment. The person of power is decisive in the moment. And you're absolutely right. There is
Yeah.
no better time than now. So if you're listening and you find yourself, saying to yourself, this is me, the
Mm-hmm.
time is now. There's no tomorrow. Tomorrow's an illusion. Yesterday's foregone
Yeah.
conclusion. All we have is now. Mark, we're going to take another break, but
Great.
hang in there with us so that when we come back, we'll continue our conversation. And if you guys want to call, 508-222-1320, and we'll be right back. And hello and welcome back to Get a Grip with Coach Elex. I'm your host, Coach Elex. With me, my better half, Stephen the Medium.
Present.
And we have an amazing guest, Nurse Mark Worcester. And we just said the last thing we talked about is there's only today, there's no tomorrow. Yesterday is a foregone conclusion. So the only time that we have is now. Mark, what would you want our listeners to walk away with today out of this conversation?
I really want folks to intimately understand that being human is really a common experience. Like, we're all wired very similarly, and we all take on all of these stories over the course of time, and we all get stuck. And so the key is that you can change that story anytime you choose.
You can always.
It's not easy.
Yeah.
Not easy.
Well,
But
if it was, everyone would be
done.
doing it, right?
Right. So when I finally got to that realization, that knowledge, deep knowledge, that everybody is having hard times from time to time. They're experiencing things in life, that nobody gets off the hook from being human, no matter how successful they are. When I really got that, what became available, Elix, is forgiveness for everybody. Like, understanding that, when people blow up and they get angry and they have an interaction with you, that it's not even about you. Like, it's not. And they're just human, and it's okay. That forgiveness is an amazing space to live in.
That's just a beautiful way to end this conversation. Mark, where can people find you, find your book, connect with you, connect with your program?
Yeah. So pretty easy. TheGreenNurse.com is where we do medical cannabis card certifications and consultations for people who want to use cannabis as a medicine in their life, whether it's through a medical card program or not. We're happy to help out. We also will train providers on how to integrate cannabis medicine into their practices. So that's thegreennurse.com. And my site is nursemark.co, and that's where you'll find my full line of CBD products. And, of course, you can always get my book, Absolutely Effing Amazing, Living a Life You Love, on Amazon.
Awesome. So before we go, this is one thing I do with every guest. You have no idea what I'm going to ask you. This is what I call my rapid fire question test. So I'm just going to ask you a question and just give me whatever comes to mind. Okay? You ready?
Yeah. Yep.
So what's your idea of perfect happiness?
Oh, boy, that's good. Perfect happiness is no attachment to any outcome.
What's your greatest fear?
That my greatest fear is that I will die before I complete my ultimate goal.
What's your motto?
Seize the day.
What's your current state of mind?
Ecstatic.
Which talent would you most like to have?
Oh, what talent would I most like to have? Oh, Felix, these questions, man. I'd say the talent I'd most like to have is making other people happy.
What do you consider your greatest achievement?
I would have to say that I have 3 children who are absolutely happy, healthy, and empathetic, kind people.
What's your most treasured possession?
My most treasured possession?
Mm-hmm.
You know what? I don't have one. I sold my house and a lot of my possessions and hit the road in 2018 and haven't looked back. So possessions have really kind of dropped away. I'm not really concerned with them.
And who are your heroes in real life?
Oh, people like you and Steven that are out there trying to help the world realize that they're absolutely amazing exactly as they are, and they can transform any part of their life to be whatever it is they choose.
Oh, that's fabulous. What a way to end this fabulous interview. Mark, you are an amazing, amazing person, an amazing human, and it's such a pleasure that you accepted this invitation to join my show. Thank you for being with us.
So honored and a pleasure to be here and to talk with both of you. Much love.
Thank you, Mark.
Guys.
Thank you, Mark. And again, if you want to learn more about Mark, nursemark.co, thegreennurse.com. You can find his book on Amazon, and he also have a podcast at Nurse Mark. That was awesome, Stephen, wasn't it?
It was really incredible. That story that he has and shared is just, I think it sort of hits all the emotional buttons for so many people.
Yeah, and I hope those of you listening that you found yourself, that you found yourself in that story. Not that again it's the same story, but yet somehow you are able to connect, to some or all aspects of that story, so that you can be inspired to take action. So
I also, Elix, loved, not to interrupt, but I loved when Mark talked about forgiveness. And I think it's one of the things that is up there with the most difficult thing that people have to be able to accept and understand, like what he said, that when someone blows up, it's not towards you, it's not at you, it's not about you, and it's that we're just human, because the only way you can be forgiving to yourself is to be able to forgive others. So, and it's not easy.
Yeah, why do you think it's not easy, Stephen? Why do you think people struggle with forgiving?
With forgiveness?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think there's probably a multitude of reasons. I mean, I bring it up because I know that I have always struggled with that, and I mean, I certainly have. I have my reasons, and I have my background and where I came from, and losing my dad at 8 years old, and I think so much of all of that is just part of it. It's just. There's a part of me that just always wants to fight, and sometimes, feeling forgiveness may put me at sort of as a less than the other person, and it's hard. And I think for other people, maybe some people are the same way, and I just think there's a lot of reasons, but it's just, I think people get hurt, or when someone like Mark's experience or example that you're yelled at, I think sometimes it's hard to let go of that hurt, because it automatically, as a human, makes you feel like you're not good enough. And once you get there, I think it's very difficult to climb out of that. It's possible, and I think Mark has done it, which bravo to him.
Yeah, and I think that is the nugget. That's the golden nugget right there. For those of you listening, I agree with you. I think it has a lot to do with the ego. The ego is there to protect us, to keep us safe. So, forgiveness is, makes us vulnerable, right? Makes us exposed. So the ego is like, no, you can't, because if you do, you're going to hurt yourself. The problem is that while it may keep us safe, it also puts the lid on what's possible.
Right.
And it keeps us, status quo. And again, if status quo is okay with you, then who am I to argue that, right? But most of the people listening, most of the people who engage in coaching conversations, conversations because they're not okay with the status quo. So I don't know, what was that did you just hear that?
What?
I heard like something in the background. So,
I just heard you talking. I mean, it's almost sounded like someone opened a window.
Yeah, seriously, geez, Spirit, it's here with us, but Spirit's with us all the time.
Well, that's for sure.
So, Stephen, how do people find you? What are you up to? What should people be looking to hear from you?
Stephen the Medium. That's all you need to know. So whether you're on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, my website, Stephen the Medium, in all of those places, I'm always giving updates. So that's how people know exactly what's going on. To make an appointment, you go to stephenthemedium.com, and also just to check in whichever vehicle you use. In social media, you can check me out. And if you're not on anything, it's easy to go to Stephen the Medium because you don't need to have an account.
And so stay tuned. There's big things in the fire. So lots happening. And if you want to, for me, you can find me at Coach Elex on Instagram, on Facebook, YouTube. Just type Coach Elex. My website is in construction because I'm rebuilding my brand. And my brand and marketing manager is in charge of that. But, we'll be back next week. And thank you for joining us. And have a fabulous weekend.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.